Trump thought he could destroy Obama in front of America's top journalists. Obama waited patiently, then delivered one sentence that ended Trump's entire political career. Welcome to Real Life Stories. Before diving into this incredible confrontation, let us know which city you're watching from in the comments. And if you believe these powerful moments should be shared, don't forget to hit the like button. Also, subscribe to our channel so you won't miss similar shocking encounters between world leaders. Because tonight, you'll witness how Barack Obama delivered the most devastating single sentence in political history. But this story reveals something deeper about power and respect. While cameras rolled and millions watched, what happened in that moment wasn't just politics. It was a masterclass in how to destroy someone's credibility with surgical precision. And Obama's one sentence didn't just silence Trump. It changed how America sees leadership forever. June 12, 2024, National Press Club, Washington, D.C. The National Press Club's ballroom was packed beyond capacity. Journalists, political analysts, and dignitaries filled every seat for the Presidential Leadership Forum, a rare joint appearance by Barack Obama and Donald Trump to discuss American democracy and global leadership. The event had been billed as a civil discourse between two former presidents, but everyone in the room sensed the underlying tension. Trump had spent weeks on social media attacking Obama, claiming credit for every positive economic indicator from Obama's presidency, while simultaneously blaming him for every problem that emerged during Trump's own term. Barack Obama, 62, sat composed at the panel table, wearing a crisp navy suit with a silver tie. His folder contained detailed notes, but his demeanor suggested he was prepared for whatever might unfold. The press corps had gathered not just for policy discussion, but because they sensed fireworks were inevitable. Donald Trump, 78, sat 3 chairs away, repeatedly adjusting his red tie and scrolling through his phone, even as the moderator began introductions. His agitation was visible to everyone in the room, the way he shifted in his seat, the tight set of his jaw, the frequent glances toward Obama. Veteran journalist Margaret Chen from CNN served as moderator. She opened with a diplomatic introduction about respectful dialogue between former presidents, but her eyes betrayed concern about keeping the discussion civilized. President Obama, Chen began. Let's start with your thoughts on presidential leadership during times of national division. Obama leaned toward the microphone with his characteristic calm authority. Thank you, Margaret. I believe presidential leadership requires bringing out the best in people, not the worst. It means appealing to our shared values rather than our differences. He spoke for 3 minutes about unity, institutional respect, and the responsibility presidents bear for the tone of national discourse. The audience listened attentively, several journalists nodding at his measured approach. A president's words matter, Obama concluded. They can heal divisions or deepen them. They can inspire hope or spread fear. The choice of which path to take defines not just a presidency, but the character of the nation itself. Respectful applause filled the room. Even traditionally conservative journalists seemed impressed by Obama's thoughtful opening. Chen turned to Trump. President Trump, your thoughts on presidential leadership? Trump didn't wait for the full introduction. He was already leaning toward his microphone, his voice carrying an edge of irritation. Well, Margaret, I think what we just heard was typical politician talk, Trump began, his tone immediately more confrontational than Obama's. Beautiful words, very pretty words, but where were those words when Barack was actually president? The room's energy shifted instantly. This wasn't going to be the civilized discussion the National Press Club had promised. I mean, let's be honest here, Trump continued, his voice rising. Barack Obama was a disaster as president. The economy was terrible. Unemployment was terrible. Foreign policy was a complete mess. Iran, Syria, Russia, everything was falling apart. Obama remained perfectly still, his expression unchanged. He didn't turn to look at Trump or show any reaction to the personal attack. And now he sits here talking about leadership. Trump's voice grew louder and more agitated. Where was that leadership when ISIS was taking over the Middle East? Where was that leadership when Russia was interfering in our elections? Where was that leadership when China was ripping us off on trade? Journalists throughout the room began glancing between Trump and Obama, sensing the confrontation escalating beyond normal political disagreement. The truth is, Trump declared, now pointing in Obama's direction, Barack Obama was the worst president in modern history, maybe ever, and everyone knows it, even if they won't say it. The ballroom fell silent. Even seasoned political reporters seemed stunned by the direct personal attack in what was supposed to be a diplomatic forum. Obama still hadn't moved or reacted. His hands remained folded, his expression serene, as if Trump's outburst was happening in another room. Trump interpreted Obama's silence as weakness and pressed harder. "You want to talk about presidential leadership? I created the greatest economy in history. I rebuilt our military. I made America respected again around the world. Everything good that happened during my presidency, I built. Everything bad that happened, I inherited from Barack." The attack continued for another full minute, with Trump growing more animated and personal with each claim. He accused Obama of spying on my campaign, weaponizing the FBI, and trying to destroy democracy. Throughout the entire tirade, Obama sat motionless. His calm was so complete, it began to unnerve even Trump, whose voice grew shriller as he realized he wasn't getting the reaction he wanted. "And the media won't report it," Trump finally shouted. "They won't report how Barack Obama was a complete failure. They protect him because they hate me, but everyone knows the truth." Trump finally paused, breathing heavily, his face flushed red with exertion and anger. The room was completely silent as everyone waited to see how Obama would respond to the most vicious personal attack ever delivered by one former president against another. Obama slowly turned his head to look directly at Trump. His expression was calm but focused, like a surgeon preparing to make a precise incision. The silence stretched for 10 full seconds. Journalists leaned forward in their seats. Camera operators zoomed in on both men's faces. The entire room held its breath. Finally, Obama leaned slightly toward his microphone. When he spoke, his voice was so quiet that everyone had to strain to hear, but so clear that every word carried perfectly through the room. "Donald," Obama said, his tone gentle but unmistakably authoritative, "you're describing your own presidency." That was it. One sentence, 10 words. The effect was instantaneous and devastating. Trump's mouth fell open, his pointing finger slowly lowered. His face, already flushed from his angry tirade, went through a spectrum of colors, from red to purple to a sickly pale. The room erupted. Journalists gasped audibly. Camera flashes exploded like lightning. Several reporters actually laughed out loud before catching themselves. But the most telling reaction was on Trump's face. In that moment, everyone could see the realization hit him. Obama hadn't just defended himself. He had turned every one of Trump's attacks back on Trump himself. The economy Obama had destroyed, Trump had inherited it growing and left it in recession. The foreign policy disasters, Trump had alienated allies and emboldened adversaries. The worst presidency ever? Historians were already ranking Trump at the bottom of all presidential rankings. Trump tried to respond, opening and closing his mouth several times, but no words came out. He looked like a man who had just realized he had been arguing with a mirror. "That's not," he finally managed to stammer, but Obama held up one finger, just one finger, and somehow that tiny gesture commanded absolute silence. "Donald," Obama continued, his voice still gentle, "every criticism you just made, the economy, foreign relations, institutional damage, those are the exact words historians use to describe your time in office." Obama turned to address the room full of journalists directly, ignoring Trump completely. "This is what I mean about presidential leadership. A leader takes responsibility for their own record rather than attacking others for theirs." The press corps was frantically taking notes, recognizing they were witnessing political history. This wasn't just a comeback. It was a complete reversal that had left Trump speechless and exposed. Trump sat frozen in his chair, his face cycling through expressions of shock, anger, and humiliation. For perhaps the first time in his political career, he had been rendered completely speechless by the precision of Obama's response. Obama turned back to the moderator as if nothing had happened. "Margaret, I believe you had another question about institutional norms?" The room exploded in nervous laughter and sustained applause. Even journalists who prided themselves on objectivity couldn't hide their amazement at what they had just witnessed. Trump finally stood up abruptly, his chair scraping loudly against the floor. Without saying another word, he walked off the stage, his security detail scrambling to follow him. As Trump's footsteps echoed through the silent ballroom, Obama watched him go with the same calm expression he had maintained throughout the entire confrontation. "Well," Obama said into his microphone, "I suppose that concludes the discussion on presidential temperament." The room erupted again, this time in full laughter and applause that lasted nearly 2 minutes. Within hours, clips of the exchange had been viewed millions of times. Hashtag one sentence, Obama began trending globally. Political analysts called it the most devastating political comeback in modern history. The contrast between Obama's surgical precision and Trump's fumbling retreat became a case study in crisis communication taught in universities worldwide. But perhaps the most telling impact was on Trump himself, who spent the next 3 days posting increasingly frantic social media messages, trying to regain the narrative he had lost with that one sentence. As one political commentator noted, Obama didn't just win that exchange, he ended it so completely that Trump is still trying to figure out what happened. The power of one perfectly timed, precisely aimed sentence had reminded America and the world what real leadership looks like under pressure.